Hello, it's September 18th. I'm in beautiful Mono, Ontario. Being in Mono is much better than having mono. Um, anyway, I'm at the farm and I've got a bunch of early September nukes I made. Now, I didn't make these, I wasn't thinking that I'd be making splits and nukes in September, but my July nukes were crowded and they made a whole bunch of queen cells, which means they were getting ready to swarm. And so I was left with the option of either trying to break up those queen cells and hopefully stopping that drive to swarm. I had already lost a couple swarms, or just splitting them up and forcing them their hand that way. Anyway, so I split. I've got about 16 here, 20 early September nukes in total, and thought we would take a look at them. Like I said, I wasn't planning on making September splits. It's quite late in the year, but we have had just a beautiful September, and from the end of August, there hasn't been a single day that the bees haven't been bringing in nectar. It's just been idyllic conditions, and they've been working the goldenrod, clover, the asters. The issue isn't lack of resources. It's at this point it's lack of space, and so I have been through 8 of these so far. So we will open this guy up. One of these days I'm gonna get a tripod, make my life a little bit easier. So these guys are just, they couldn't be any more full of nectar. There's no space left anywhere. Frame number 2 is the same story on both sides. The queen has hatched. There's just a ton of bees, no space. Unbelievable. Just the production out of these guys. So these guys, this September 3rd nuke, they've got a new frame. We'll see how quickly they build that out, and hopefully when I come back the queen will be laying on it. But these guys certainly will not be starving. I think I have to try some of this. I really enjoy, the late season honey is always the tastiest. Here is my honey harvest from my September nukes. Never thought that would happen, but I've got a box of frames here, and this is just making sure they had space. So I had to remove all this honey because they were just too full of honey. Beekeeping is tremendously local. I spoke to some beekeepers who have virtually no honey, and they've got to feed their bees going into winter. And I've got one yard out in eastern Ontario in cottage country, and that's the case. They were doing really well during July, and I harvested some honey from them, but since then they've just been starving. So I had to put some feed on for them just to keep them alive. There's so many variables that go into making a good nectar flow. So you need the right temperature, the right humidity, the right moisture in the ground, and the right things in bloom at the right time. And if things don't line up, then you don't have nectar. In this case, where you've got your bees going full throttle, bringing nectar in right towards the end of the season, is the queen doesn't have any room to lay, and I'm certainly seeing that in all of my hives now. And of course there's a transition that needs to take place where the queen will start laying winter bees, so the summer bees will die off in the days and weeks to come, and they'll be replaced by the winter bees, who have a different role within the hive. The winter bees' role, of course, is to survive, right? It's to get the hive through winter, and there's no resources for them to collect. They just need to keep keep the thing rolling, keep the queen alive, and consume resources sparingly, so there's enough to get through to the next nectar flow. And when you go into the hive this time of year trying to fool around too much, you cause more harm than good. But in this case, where I have these new queens, and I'm seeing that these nukes, so when I made these nukes up, they were 3 or 4 frames of brood, and I made sure they had space. And every single one of those nukes now, there's no space. There's every cell is full of nectar or capped off honey. And so I think putting an empty frame in, which I wouldn't normally do, but given the circumstances, I think it'll give this queen, the new queen, some space to lay and get the new hives off to a right start. That's all until next time. Hope you guys have a great day.